everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are doing one of our first movie talk videos. Well, we kind of did a movie talk video about a Monster Calls, but this is the first one in the new house with the cool movie background. Today we are going to be ranking all of the Saw movies because we just finished watching all of them, so I thought it'd be fun to tell each other our rankings and kind of talk about them.
So this was my first time watching the franchise.
Yeah.
Because I avoided it like the plague, because as far as I was aware, it was like gross and yucky and not fun. And then when I watched it, there's all those things.
It was gross and yucky.
I now understand kind of where you're coming from in talking about Saw and kind of like more of the lore, and there's a big overarching story. And it's just like, it's really fascinating. That's kind of the big things that I like.
A lot of people look at me with funny eyes when I say that I like the Saw franchise because I'm very well known for liking Disney movies. I've literally had people tell me that I'm not allowed to like Saw because I like Disney movies. For me, I don't like the grossness and the bloodiness of the Saw movies. That's not why I watch them. I watch them because I really like the plot, believe it or not. I actually think it's such a cool concept, and I mean, there's so much going on, and you can't have 9 movies that are literally just torture movies.
Saw does it in a very good way when it starts and then how it ends, at least for the main 7 anyways.
Yeah.
Because it kind of almost embraces the campiness, but we'll talk about that later.
We've watched all of them, like Saw 1 through Spiral. It was Sam's first time watching all of them. I've seen all of them except Spiral, so this was my first time watching Spiral. Now we're going to rank them, and spoiler warning, we will be talking about spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the Saw movies and you want to watch the Saw movies, then maybe don't watch this video until after you've watched them, or if you just don't care, then continue watching it.
Well, we'll still give our final ranking at the end.
Skip to this timestamp here if you want to see our ranking without hearing any spoilers. Let us discuss the Saw movies. Let's start from our least favorite and then go down to our most favorite. Starting with my least favorite movie. My least favorite is Saw 7, which is really funny to say because for a really long time Saw 3 was my least favorite. But rewatching Saw 7, there's one thing about Saw 7 that I really like. What I love about Saw 7 is I love that they bring back and basically tell you what happened to Dr. Gordon after the events of the first Saw movie. That's what I really like about Saw 7. I literally, to this very moment, keep going back and forth between Saw 7 and Saw 3. But I think I'm going to stick true that I liked Saw 7 the least, because I'll get into my reasoning with Saw 3 next. So Saw 3 is my second least favorite. But anyway, it was just very over the top and just way too much killing for me. And that's funny, talking about a Saw movie, that there was so much killing that I didn't like it. But if you really watch them, in like Saw 1, only like 6 people die, which is kind of crazy to think about in context of what this movie is about. In Saw 7, the main like villain, Detective Hoffman, just goes batshit crazy and kills like upwards of 20 plus people, all who have no reason to be killed. Like, the whole point of Saw is that it is people who don't appreciate their life getting put to a test to prove that they do appreciate their lives. And Detective Hoffman just goes nuts, and I hate it, and he kills so many people who do not deserve to be killed. Like, so many police officers, so many detectives, so many just random people. And even though I really like everything that happens with Dr. Gordon in Saw 7, just everything that happens with Hoffman just makes it so much worse. I really don't like the beginning trap. It's stupid. I hate the one random dream sequence with Jill Tuck. Like, there's no dream sequences ever in this movie, ever. And randomly there's a dream sequence with Jill Tuck, which is just stupid. So yeah, so my least favorite is Saw 7. What's your least favorite, Sam?
Mine's a little controversial, I think. I think it's controversial, as far as I'm aware. The bottom of my list is Spiral. I thought Chris Rock was just great. I thought, I want to see Chris Rock do more serious things, or more horror, or more action things, and I thought, like, his character and his performance was actually quite good. The story, however, and the plot, and the villain, don't get me started. Villain's plot is, I'm going to murder all the bad cops, and you're going to join me, hee hee hee, but actually I'm going to backstab you. It's like, okay, cool. And he's so mustache twirling. If you're going to make a Saw movie, or something in the Saw universe, there needs to be reasons as to you using the Saw traps. And so, I understand him being like, well, okay, well, these cops are bad. And that's kind of his MO. But there isn't any redemption for them. I think some of the traps, like almost all the traps, these people just at the last second miss and then they die. And I think to myself, was that on purpose? Like, he probably rigged the traps so that way these people couldn't escape. Then you think about, it's like, well, why couldn't he have done something else other than set up Jigsaw traps? Like, did he have a relationship with Jigsaw? Was he Jigsaw's grandson? Like, there's no, like, rhyme or reason as to why he is doing these Saw things. It's just he is. The fact that the main trap at the end, similar to a couple other traps in Saw 3 and Saw 6, and Saw 7 as well. The main trap, someone's going to die, and I'm going to set up the fact that you're going to live, but actually, no, just kidding, you're actually going to die. And there's no redemption for that character. It's just, you're going to die because I said so. The end. The more I thought about Spiral, like, I actually liked it when I got out of it, and then I kept thinking about, like, well, that's dumb. That's really dumb. Oh, I don't like that. And so it just kept creeping lower and lower and lower. Spiral's at the bottom of the list for me. Like, it's, like, dead last.
I think you said you had it, like, third last or something like that. And just, like, as the days went on, you're like, no, I don't like it even more because of this. And now I don't like it even more because of this.
I keep thinking about kind of like plot details or reasons or like the villain's main scheme. And it's just stupid and I hate everything about it. Good things about it is that I think Chris Rock was great. If you're going to do a Saw movie, have a reason for it to be a Saw movie.
My 8th favorite, I kind of mentioned, was Saw 3. Mainly because of stupid Jeff. This was my main reasoning between going back and forth between which one I liked least, Saw 3 or Saw 7, because in Saw 7, I actually like that the main person being tested, Bobby, actually tries to save the other people involved in the trap, where Jeff just doesn't try at all. Literally every single time he is faced with saving someone, he waits until like the very last second and just they die. I know it's different because in Saw 7, Bobby is trying to save his friends. In Saw 3, the people that Jeff has to save are people that are all involved with the death of his son. I understand that there's like an emotional thing there that they're not his friends, he doesn't like these people, but you're still an accomplice to murder if you just stand there and let a guy's head twist around and just watch and don't do anything. I just cannot stand Jeff in the slightest. Like every time I watch Saw 3, I hate it because I hate Jeff so much. The only thing that makes Saw 3 slightly better than Saw 7 is because I love everything that happens between John Kramer, Amanda, and Dr. Denlin. I love that entire side plot, and the fact that it goes on for basically the full length of the movie is why it's better than Saw 7, because everything that happens with Dr. Gordon is like about 10 minutes of the movie, where everything that happens with them in Saw 3 is basically the entire movie. Also, Tobin Bell is amazing. I love Tobin Bell so much, and this was like his Jack Sparrow role, where it was like the role he was born to play was Jigsaw, and he does such a great job. So it's because of everything that happens between the three of them that Saw 3 is slightly better than Saw 7.
My second least favorite is Saw 7. The reason for that is that I think I would rather watch Saw 7 than Spiral. A big part of that I like Saw 7 better is that I had a blast. I laughed. I thought it was hilarious. I thought the gore was just like, it was more cheesier and like it reminded me of like a Kill Bill movie where like someone's arm gets chopped off and like blood splurts everywhere. It was so over the top and it was so corny and it was so cheesy. I don't like the fact that Hoffman goes on a killing spree, but the campiness of it all almost redeems itself, and the end with Gordon is great. A big thing that drags it down is the fact that the writers or the directors decided to put all their eggs in the Hoffman basket, and that's no fun. They obviously blew the budget because they had the most minimal and the most silliest and the most cheesiest traps in the franchise. Saw 7's near the bottom, but Spiral's worse.
My third from last is actually Spiral. The things I don't like about it that you didn't touch on. First of all, they totally give away who the bad guy is. It is very clear from watching the film who the bad guy is, because they're like, oh, this guy was in a trap, here's his dead body, but we're not actually going to show the trap. It's like, you do realize fans come to these movies for the traps. Maybe not me, but that is a huge part of Saw, is the traps. So you can't put a body on display, tell me he was in a trap and didn't survive, and then not show me the trap and expect me to just go along with it and believe it. So as soon as that happened, the two of us were like, well, he's the bad guy. Like, we're like, where's the trap? Like, where's what happened to this guy? Like, how did he go from here to here? We don't know. They don't show you. He's actually alive. He's actually the bad guy. Like, it was very, very obvious. Another thing I didn't like about it was, it's funny because the bad guy wants to team up with Chris Rock because Chris Rock is apparently a good cop in comparison to the other bad cops who are being put into tests. But there's one scene where Chris Rock is not a very good cop. Like, there's one scene where I was like, you're just as much of an ass as, like, the rest of them. Like, yes, they do things that you see throughout the movie that are like, okay, you're also not a good cop. But there's one scene in particular where they're, like, questioning a witness or something like that. And he uses, like, force and, like, hurts him. And I'm like, this is who bad guy wants to team up with to, like, go after the bad cops. Like, he's not a very good cop either.
But the payoff at the end almost kind of like bamboozles him. It's like, hey, join me, but actually no.
No, I didn't really understand the ending. It was like, I want you to join me, but also I'm gonna kill your dad.
And if you kill me, your dad's going to die. But if you join me, your dad's going to die.
I know, either way, it's like,
So the rules are broken immediately.
I didn't understand that. It's like, if you do this, you'll join me and your dad will die. I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch the end of that movie because I didn't get it. It's the only movie that isn't part of the actual Jigsaw Saw timeline. It's the only movie that's its own complete thing. And for some people, they liked that. And that was something I kind of liked about it, was I liked that it was kind of different. I would like to see where they go from this, but at the same time, you'll hear me talk about this later, but I also really liked Jigsaw, and I wanted to see how Jigsaw would continue on, and to know that there's possibly no follow-up to Jigsaw, and the next thing we're gonna get is a follow-up to Spiral. It's disappointing and it's exciting because I'm excited to see this kind of like new chapter of Saw from like a completely different perspective, because now it's all like Chris Rock who's doing it, and I'm enjoying his perspective. Like, I'm enjoying this new take on it, but I did want to see where it would go past Jigsaw. I don't know, I'm conflicted. I didn't hate it as much as I hate like Stupid Jeff. The people in the trap, you could tell that they were trying. There's one trap in particular, the finger trap, where he was very, very close to succeeding. Like, very, very close to succeeding, and it was not pretty. I thought the traps were cool, besides the trap that we didn't see for some reason. I actually really enjoyed the traps. I felt that the traps weren't as, like, out there and ridiculous as, like, Saw 7 was. So for me, that's why just Spiral is a little bit higher up on my list than Saw 3 and Saw 7.
The next one for me is Saw 5. I felt with Saw 5, it felt almost kind of like a TV special. It's on, it's harmless, it does its thing. It's just so bland and it's on one level the whole time. And like one of the cool things about Saw 5 was Hoffman's backstory, which they elaborate on. And that's like a maybe like 30-minute, maybe 45-minute sequence of kind of like flashbacks and kind of like his perspective and him working with John Kramer. And those are really cool. But one of the big things about it is that at the end of the movie, it's like, well, okay, I guess it's over.
I think Saw 5 is the only one that doesn't have like a very apparent twist.
The traps are not memorable. The main protagonist in it, he basically, it's like, oh, he's going to die. Oh, good, you did something good. Oh, shit. Oh, he died. Don't be a dum-dum. And then he dies. It's just kind of a nothing movie for me. It has momentum when it starts because it takes place immediately after the events of Saw 3 and 4. And then it just takes a nosedive and it just plateaus and it just doesn't go anywhere for me.
My next would be Saw 4.
Hey, I'm also Saw 4. We can talk about it together.
Oh, hey!
Hey!
I don't hate Saw 4. The way you described Saw 5 is the way I feel about Saw 4. Like, it's just not memorable. I always have to be like, oh, Saw 4, what happened in that? Oh, right, that's the one with Rig. Saw 4 is just not memorable for me. Also, it has, like, the most, like, cringy trap, in my opinion. The hair-pulling trap. Like, that's the trap that gets me the most. Like, oh, I can't handle this. The twist in it is pretty cool. Like, I like that there's, like, the twist of Rig is basically just supposed to let Eric Matthews be on his own. Like, he's not supposed to save Eric Matthews.
And he also sets up Eric Matthews to not intervene as well.
I love how they set up the time framing of it, how it begins with John Kramer's autopsy, so you think it's now after Saw 3, but it's not until the very end that you realize that everything in Saw 4 took place during Saw 3. I think that was like the biggest moment of shock for you because you kind of already knew the twist of the first Saw. That was the biggest like shocker that I've seen on your face was when we're watching Saw 4 and all of a sudden Jeff from Saw 3 is there. And you're like, hold on.
How as soon as he showed up, it was like, oh shit, we're in the same movie. We're in Saw 3.
I do have things I really like about it, but for me, Saw 4 just isn't memorable.
I would say for Saw 4 that it's more that I like the traps, I like the payoff at the end, more kind of like Easter eggs or more kind of like more hidden things in it, and like, I don't know, I thought that Saw 4 kind of was almost more memorable than the other ones just because it had more of a direction it had to go compared to like Saw 5. It didn't. Everything you said about it, all the positive things about Saw 4, it's like, yeah, no, I totally agree. But yeah, that's why it's down below, kind of like not near the bottom. It's fine. My fifth favorite is Saw 6. There's lots of things in Saw 6 I really like. I think the traps are very cool. I think the main person in the trap is one of the better people. I don't like how the story, it goes way too deep into Hoffman and almost kind of like makes Hoffman like this superior being, makes him like the ultimate Jigsaw killer and all this shit. And I don't like that because he doesn't follow the rules and he's just kind of boring as a character. It almost was like trying to set up kind of like this guy's bad because of his insurance, because of his dirty deals and all this stuff. Actually, Saw 6 actually dropped a couple of spots because I was thinking about how that the main trap at the end forces the main character to straight up just kill somebody. Just an innocent person to just kill them. Compared to all the other traps, they don't do that. It's very much that you need to hurt yourself to succeed. You need to sacrifice something to succeed. But at the end of the day, it is, hey boy, you were wronged by this guy. Kill him, or don't, or kill the other person. What Saw's MO, or what Saw's like guidelines are, it goes completely against it. And so that's another Hoffman hiccup of kind of like him playing not by the rules that have been firmly set up. And I'm not a huge fan. Saw 6 is fine. I like it better than Saw 4. It's more fun, and the traps were really cool.
My fifth favorite is actually Saw 5. I really like it, despite the fact that Hoffman is like my least favorite character. besides like Jeff. I think Hoffman is like a Jigsaw apprentice for like not the right reasons. It shows at the beginning of Saw 5 why he is just not a great person, like the fact that he does just straight up murder someone and set it up to be a saw trap so he can get away with it. I like learning about how Hoffman became a Jigsaw apprentice because I like that aspect of Saw and how there's all the apprentices. And I love Peter Strahm. He is one of my favorite characters throughout the entire franchise. I really like Peter Strahm. I wish we would have gotten more of him. He's in Saw 4 and Saw 5 and then he gets squished a la Star Wars A New Hope. But I think he's like really smart and that he figured this all out and no one believes him, and he even figured out that everyone in like the warehouse at the end of Saw 3/4 was supposed to die and that Hoffman was supposed to be the only one to get out and that it was supposed to look like a hero. Also the fact that he survives the cube trap, like seriously like a boss, just tracheotomies himself like nobody's business. I think that's so cool. I really like the entire like Fatal 5 trap that is a part of Saw 5. I will say I totally called right at the beginning that they all had to work together, that it wasn't just like offing one person per trap, that it was like, no, you gotta work together from the get-go. I mean, I did call that, but by that point, it had been 5 movies along, and you just know going into it that everything is not always as it seems. Your 4th favorite?
Saw 3.
Really?
Saw 3.
Wow, that is my second least favorite.
So, there was so much that you mentioned that, yeah, like sucks. Like, Jeff sucks. One of the best things about Saw 3, I think, is that it has some of the most memorable traps. One where the guy gets twisted around and like, oh, it's amazing. The main story between John Kramer and Amanda and the doctor is just phenomenal. It almost just teases you. It's like, we're just going to show you this dum-dum named Jeff. Just being a dumb. And then it's like, oh, now this dumb is part of the traps and he sucks at everything. He's gonna fuck shit up. And as soon as he came to the room, like, Jeff's gonna ruin everything. He's just the biggest bull in the china shop and he'll just wreck everything. And it's just, by that point, it's like, just let it rain. I think Saw 3 is quite fun. I had a blast watching it, although I hate screaming at the TV at Jeff to stop doing dumb shit.
Do something.
Or do something.
Do something, Jeff.
But it's just more fun. And I just had a blast. John Kramer's just the best character. Even when he's not in the room, he is pulling all the strings and he has everything like completely and entirely worked out. This is one of the better ones. I think it's a lot more fun. I had a blast watching it.
My 4th favorite actually changed in the process of us sitting here and chatting. This was my 3rd favorite, but then thinking about it as we're sitting here and listening to your opinion, I was like, you know what? You're right. So this was my 3rd, but now it's my 4th. Saw 6. I really like Saw 6. I love everything to do with like the insurance company. I love the traps. I love the Carousel Trap. It is iconic. I do completely and totally agree with you that this is where it really begins, that they are just completely and totally murdering innocent people. The very first trap that William is in, it's either you die or this guy dies. This guy has nothing to do with anything. Why is he in this trap? And also, it stands the question of, yes, like, William is at an advantage because it's a trap about who can hold their breath longer, and this other guy is elderly, he's a smoker, so it's very clear William is going to win. But what would happen if he didn't win?
Yeah.
Like, what would happen?
Where would it go?
What would happen with everyone else? Would they just be like, he's dead?
And they just sit there.
The second trap that William is in is he has to choose between this person or this person to die. And again, neither of them has anything to do with it. The third trap, the lawyer could have survived had, I feel like, they communicated better.
Oh, they could communicate way better.
But she also had like 10 seconds before a spike was going to go up into her brain. So I understand that she was like kind of losing her mind because very, very, very life and death situation. And then the Carousel Trap, as cool as it is and as much as I love it, yeah, 4 people die on it. 4 people just get straight up murdered on the Carousel Trap. And yes, everyone here works for this shady insurance company, but like the secretary has nothing to do with the ins and outs of it. And I do understand that every single test was like a parallel to how the insurance company does business. The Carousel Trap is supposed to be symbolic of the fact that with this insurance company, they say that they only honor 1 out of every 3 claims. Only 1 out of 3 people on the carousel will live, which means 2 out of 6 of them will live, the other 4 will die. So I understand the like symbolicness of every single trap, and it's really cool, but it's also just murder. That's what I don't like about it. I love like the, you need to think about your life and you need to reconsider your decisions about being an asshole. But what did all of these other people do? What did the janitor who smoked do? What did the secretary do? What did the lawyer do wrong? What did the 4 people on the carousel do wrong? They were just doing their jobs. It was William that was the CEO. It was William that made the decisions. And yes, I don't like that, but I just love it. It's like hinting there's someone else behind the scenes that no one knows about, and then you find out in Saw 7, it's Lawrence Gordon. What is your third favorite?
My third favorite is Jigsaw.
Me too.
Oh, good.
These are the 2 that I just switched. I had Jigsaw as my 4th favorite, and I just swapped it with Saw 6.
Jigsaw is what Spiral really wished it could have been. Incorporated the use of John Kramer. It incorporated why traps were involved. The stakes were still there for the characters. You still didn't necessarily know entirely their backstories, but you knew that these people did bad things. And as far as John Kramer was concerned, they needed punishment and rehabilitation. Thank you. The twist was very cool of it being different time periods. How the main protagonist was just so baller. Like he knew everything, and like he was the better protagonist, anti-hero, which was refreshing because he's kind of the first one in that like genre of kind of like, he's more of the anti-hero, probably similar to Gordon would be if they ever did something with him, that he just kind of does his own thing and seeks vengeance against his cop. And it's not all cops, it's just this one really bad cop that fucked him over, and he's able to use the saw traps effectively to get this guy. And
what I like about Logan Nelson, yes, he kills this cop. My term I use is that he Demigorgoned him.
Bloomin' Onion.
It was because of something that this cop did. Someone he basically released due to like a technicality or something like that. This guy killed Logan Nelson's wife. But it wasn't just like, oh, you did one wrong to me, sir, so bloomin' onion. This cop did a lot of shitty things, like a lot of innocent people died because of this cop. A lot of guilty people walked free because of this cop. Jigsaw hugely surprised me.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to love Jigsaw the way that I did. Yes, it's corny. Yes, it's cheesy. But all of them are.
Yeah.
All of the Saw movies are.
Compared to the latter that we've discussed, it's perfect and it knows exactly what it is and what it should be.
Exactly.
And what it should be doing. That it's campy enough that it's like, well, it's just another Saw movie. But it gives you enough lore and enough taste of kind of like all the good parts of Saw.
Yeah. And part of the reason why I just, in this talking with you now, that I swapped the 2, Jigsaw and Saw 6, was because in Jigsaw, innocent people don't die. Innocent people aren't put to a test that
just killed.
Someone else decides their fate and they just die even though they've done nothing wrong. Everyone in Jigsaw who does die deserves to die. The ending where Jigsaw is alive, and up until that moment, you assume that this is all taking place in the future, only to discover that the main trap is in the past, and in this main trap, Jigsaw, John Kramer, is actually alive. That was like, what the heck? Like, I was so confused, and I remember, like, I kind of figured out, like, the ending, because I remember always saying to Sam, I was like, you gotta listen to what John Kramer is saying, because he means things very literally. Of course, people, again, are in these life and death situations. They're not going to, like, listen to it properly, and they do the obvious thing. I really love how the ending kind of played out with Jigsaw. Like, I loved the whole, like, here's the gun to save yourselves, but don't actually use it. Like, that was the whole idea, and I just loved it. I didn't watch Jigsaw until this year, so obviously Spiral, it was already in theaters when I finally sat down and watched Jigsaw, so it was really disappointing, like really loving Jigsaw and not getting to know what happens further on. Like, I want to know what happens with Logan. I want to know if something happens with him, with like Dr. Gordon, like does Dr. Gordon somehow do something? And even like some videos I've watched on YouTube talking about Jigsaw, at the very end when Eleanor is running away from the farm and there's a car driving up, like two things. Who's randomly driving up not only a private but abandoned pig farm driveway in the middle of the night? And also the way she looks at this person, it's like she knows something about that person.
Yes.
So I want to know what was that person.
It teases you and it never tells you exactly what it is.
But how that happens throughout the entire franchise.
But
something
there's
is
sequels
teased
coming for
Spiral.
all the. Does Spiral do that? No, Spiral's very straightforward.
I feel like they made Jigsaw with the intention of there being more Jigsaw films, like more to follow with Logan Nelson, possibly Eleanor, possibly Dr. Gordon, and so they added in these little things. Chris Rock did something with the franchise and then like just took it and made Spiral from it, which I'm not disappointed in. I'm happy to continue on with these films.
After coming out of Saw 7 and then watching this, like, wow, that was so fun. This was just like, this was great. This was a good time. It's a movie I rewatch because it does something to the franchise and it almost kind of like pays homage to the better Saw movies. Because it knows exactly what it is. It plays exactly by the rules. And it knows the rules.
I was not expecting Tobin Bell to be in it. That was a shock.
He's on the poster.
I thought it was like a copycat. Like going into Jigsaw, I thought it was all going to be like, oh, it's a copycat, which Spiral ended up being. The moment in Jigsaw where John Kramer actually is there and reveals himself was so cool. Because I love Tobin Bell as John Kramer.
He's phenomenal. My second favorite is Saw.
Okay.
The twist is phenomenal. The bad thing about it is that I knew the twist because it's a, came out in 2004? So,
it just took you a long time to see it, and that's your own fault.
And that was my own fault. And I'm happy that I saw it. I'm not a huge fan of some horror films. Like, they scare me, and I get nightmares, and it's gross. And I was super hesitant going into watching any of these movies with you. Like, any of these movies, I was like, I don't know, Jody. Like, I'm interested, but I'm going to be over here behind my hand.
Yes. Well, I do remember even still, you picked one franchise of movies that we watched and we finished them, and so you said to me, okay, you can pick a movie or a new franchise we can start watching. And so on a whim, I put on Saw, and I 1,000% expected you to be like, can we please watch something else? And the fact that you stuck through 9 movies with me, I was like, yay!
It was a labor of love. Past Saw 2, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The first Saw is just, it's brilliant for when it came out. It's brilliant for the budget, the trivia about it, the fact that they filmed in or in sequence the entire bathroom scene, like in sequence instead of doing like filming out of order, which they typically do. It's amazing that they did it that way because it built more suspense. There's some corny aspects about it, like with the editing or with the funny car chase. The only reason it's not like at the top is because the number one is a lot more cleaner and highlights the star of the show. Far better, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
So my second favorite is Saw 2, and I really flip-flopped between Saw 1 and Saw 2. A major reasoning for Saw 2 being my favorite over Saw 1 was that Saw 2 has more Tobin Bell in it opposed to Saw 1. But just rethinking about it, like, I just love literally everything about that movie. They're both just so good, and it's really hard for me to really narrow down why I like Saw 1 better, but I think it's just like the nostalgia of it and just like the idea of it, and like basically like that's what started it all kind of a thing. But Saw 2 is just fantastic. Like the twist in that is amazing. Like I truly think the twists in 1, 2, and Jigsaw are by far the best twists in the entire franchise. I know other people will disagree with me there, But like the twist in Saw 2 where, again, Jigsaw is very clear and says exactly what he's saying. Like, sit here and talk to me and your son will be safe. And his son was literally in a safe the whole time. He means exactly what he is saying, and it's just a matter of nowadays people don't listen properly, and like that's the whole idea behind his traps and behind the people he's testing, is that they're not listening, they like jump to conclusions, they just do crazy things, and they just don't appreciate little things anymore. In this movie, Eric Matthews is just like, would rather take the easy way and the brutal way of dealing with things than like the nice, calm way. He freaks out, and as you see in Saw 2, he then gets put into the bathroom himself because he doesn't listen. And if he had just listened, he would have found his son and all would be fine, and then he wouldn't have gotten his head squished in Saw 4. I love the one big house trap in Saw 2. I really like that. I love all the characters in Saw 2. I love how they brought back Amanda, and like there's the whole idea that it's like, oh, what did she do again to not appreciate her life, that she's back here, and it's like, oh no, she's actually here to kind of act like as a referee and keep Daniel Matthews alive the whole time. I think it's so well done and it's so good, and it was definitely like such a good way to like continue on the series.
My number one is Saw 2.
My number one is Saw.
Okay, so we can discuss it. So everything you said about Saw 2 is absolutely true. To add on to Saw 2, why I personally liked it better is that the first Saw, it uses different like angles and cameras and like emotions, and like it really kind of like holds you down. But Saw 2, it's almost kind of like, yes, it's a horror movie, and yes, there's some gross stuff, but I didn't think there was necessarily like as gross things in it. Like the needle pit is still one of the cringiest traps, but it's not necessarily one of the more gross ones. It's just
definitely not,
just the most unnerving trap. And even mentioning it to people, like, it gives you shivers. Like, one of the best things about Saw 2 is that it just like it grabs you by the balls and it takes you for a ride. And you're flying through the entire movie. The first one holds you down, is like, good luck, you're going to need it. Where this one's like, have fun, we're gonna do some shit. John Kramer is just the absolute best in this movie. He's one of the smartest characters, and the fact that he orchestrated this so perfectly. Everything that you said about Saw 2 rings true. I just had way more fun of a time than the first one because it's more of a ride. I would almost compare it to like Alien and Aliens, or like Terminator and Terminator 2. Like, in the sense that
the first one is
super iconic, and it's amazing for what it is, and it's amazing for the fact that the original budget wasn't necessarily the greatest, but the second one just like goes so hard. And that's what I kind of really liked about Saw 2. And so I had a blast.
Obviously, like I said, my favorite is Saw 1. Like I said, I think the reasoning behind the fact that it's 1 over 2 is just like the nostalgia of it, the history of it. I love the fact that they had like a $1 million budget. They had one room to film in, and they made a 9-movie franchise from this. The budget was $1.2 million.
Yeah.
And it grossed $18 million on opening weekend.
Incredible.
The opening weekend box office has nothing to do with it. It's just the fact that they literally made this with a shoestring budget and horrible actors. I'm sorry, Lee Winnell, you can write, but you can't act.
No.
And like, also completely skyrocketed James Wan's career. He is one of the most iconic horror directors in our time.
And a little bit of Lee Winnell as well, because he did Invisible Man and a couple other things.
Oh, yes.
And so he's dabbled in the horror genre quite a bit as well.
And also rewatching, especially Saw 1 and Saw 2, rewatching them, they're not as gory as I thought I remembered them being. No. You think of Saw and you think of blood and torture and gore and this and that. And Saw 1 and Saw 2 aren't actually that gory. Like, they don't just like throw the gore in there just for the shits of it. I really feel like Saw 3 is where they started really embracing the gore and the blood and the gross. But like rewatching just the first Saw, in like the iconic scene where Dr. Gordon cuts off his foot, you see him with the saw on his foot. You see the initial cut into his foot, and yes, there's blood, but that's all you see. The entire rest of that scene is his face as he's doing it, and Adam's reaction on the other side of the bathroom. I like your comment about how the fact that they filmed it in chronological order and how it made it feel like more suspenseful and everything, but also I feel like it made the actors like more invested in their role, because like they themselves have been chained to this disgusting bathroom for this huge period of time.
Yeah.
So they themselves are disgusting and sweaty and want to get the heck out of there because they've been in this place for so long. And then at the very end where Adam kills Zepp and Dr. Gordon, he's there and he's like, I'm gonna go get help. They're very emotional because I feel like themselves probably felt very emotional that it was over and they could finally go home. One of the most iconic twists ever. The fact that he was laying there the whole time and that everyone's like, all right, well, that wrapped up in a pretty little bow. Zepp was the killer. Case closed. Time to go home. Oh no, it wasn't Zepp. It was this guy. And also, on the note of Tobin Bell just being phenomenal, behind the scenes fact, if you didn't know, the body laying in the fake blood throughout the entire movie is Tobin Bell. He himself laid there for the whole movie. And they said to him, we can get a cast made, it'll be a fake, it'll be a prosthetic, like we just need you for these couple scenes in the hospital, and then we need you to stand up at the end and be like, haha, I'm Jigsaw. He's like, oh, I'll just lay there the whole time. Like he himself did that the whole time, and it's like respect. Like I'm not an actor or anything, but like mad respect to you as an actor, because that can't be easy. Probably everything past my top 3 movies I wouldn't really watch unless we were watching, like, having another marathon or something. But 1, 2, and Jigsaw, I would watch anytime.
Me too. I 100% agree that anything past Jigsaw, unless we're watching all these movies again,
yeah,
I have no interest.
Yeah, unless, like, you and I decide to have another Saw marathon. If anyone else in our friend/family group want to watch any of them, I probably wouldn't watch any of those other ones.
Jigsaw doesn't necessarily make sense without the other ones.
Yeah, but at the same time too, like, it does technically fall before the events of even Saw, which is kind of funky. Even now, just re-talking about them, and especially talking with you about them and hearing, like, your opinion about certain things, it just very much clarifies, yes, that those 3 are my top 3. And I know a lot of people don't like Jigsaw. Like, I've heard a lot of people criticize that they think like the laser trap and everything is a little too like high tech and everything. I think it's cool. I do think it's a little like fancy schmancy for Jigsaw, but also it wasn't technically John Kramer who made that trap.
So it's fine.
So it's fine. I know a lot of people don't like Jigsaw, but I think it's very mutual agreed upon that like 1 and 2 are the best overall.
Maybe one day we can rank another franchise or just let us know, but like really this is just our opinion. And
oh yes, these are our opinions.
And we would love to hear your opinions and like look how different they are. I had fun for the most part, and then near the end not so much. But it was good.
Yes.
Yes. To recap our final list. Least favorite to most favorite would be Spiral, Saw 7, Saw 5, Saw 4, Saw 6, Saw 3, Jigsaw, Saw 2. Got it.
Impressive. My list from worst to best is Saw 7, Saw 3, Spiral, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6, Jigsaw, Saw 2, and Saw.
At the very end of the day, I saw them all.
So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Also, if you enjoyed this video in general, let me know, because Sam and I have lots of like movie ideas for videos, and I really like kind of how the movies look in the background here, so we might do some more like movie chats and stuff similar to this setup. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday, plus bonus videos every once in a while, and I'd love to have you here. So thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye everybody!